Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud and get it automatically. You can also check out the show on Stitcher if you use that. Like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. You can email me at josh@myfirstsketch.com or follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. Today's guest is Matt Aukamp, a member of the Hey We're Cool Collective and the host of Dungeon Palz. His first sketch is a Twilight Zone parody meant to be set during the original 1960s series, sort of a lost episode kind of thing. Matt Aukamp plays the Rod Serling role. Joe Moore plays Ted. I play the doctor and then the wife. And Matt J. plays Manny. So let's go to the sketch.
What if you lived in a place where even the most basic principles of attraction and family were called into question? What if boys and girls don't like each other and candy canes were shaped like pretzels? Put yourself in a place where nothing is sacred and no rule can't be broken. Put yourself in the Twilight Zone.
Well, Doc, you see, I've been having these marital troubles.
So why come to me, Ted? I'm a medical doctor, not a therapist.
Well, that's the trouble. I think my problem is medical, if you know what I mean.
I haven't the slightest clue, Ted.
Well, the marriage ain't working so well because I'm not working so well.
Are you talking about your erection?
Well, yeah. I guess I am.
Oh, boy. So it just won't work, is what you're saying.
Nope, not at all.
Have you asked her to take off her clothes?
Yeah, and still nothing.
All right, I'm going to show you some pictures, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
Okay, what do you see here, Ted?
It's a lady with no clothes on.
Curious. You didn't say a pretty lady with no clothes on.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. She's pretty. She's a pretty lady with no clothes on.
I see. Tell me, Ted, when was the last time it worked?
I don't know. About 2 weeks ago?
And what happened 2 weeks ago?
They put a new group shower in down at the factory. I remember it working then.
They let ladies work in the factory now?
Oh, hell no. Just me and the guys.
So, wait. You got an erection in the shower with men with no naked women around?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I did.
I don't think that's possible. I can't help you if you're going to just lie to me.
I ain't lying. Doc, you gotta help me. I don't know what's happening to me.
Please, Ted. What you're describing couldn't possibly be the truth. Come back when you're willing to tell me the truth.
Well, fine, Doc. If you ain't gonna believe me, I don't want to be here anyway. Thanks for nothing.
Door slam. We're in a bar now. Oh.
Hoo boy, that there's some problem, Ted.
I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going crazy.
You see that gal that come in over there? That there's one fine-looking bird.
Yeah. Yeah, see, Manny? It's not just this one problem. It's like I ain't been even interested in kissing my wife these days either.
Ain't interested in kissing your wife? She's your wife. That's what you do with wives.
I know. Manny, what's going on with me?
I don't know. Whew, look at her. Look at that dress. I'd love to get a piece of that, I tell you what. Ted, I say, I'd love to get a piece of that, I tell you what.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't notice.
What's with you tonight, Ted? You haven't eyed up a single dame that's come into this joint, and I'm pretty sure you've been staring at that group of college boys down at the end there.
Oh, dear Lord, I have.
I don't know what's going on, but you better knock it off. It's like you're playing some kind of joke on me.
I ain't. I swear I ain't.
No, No, maybe I'm going crazy here, Ted. Tell me I'm going crazy.
Crazy how, Manny?
If I didn't know any better, if I even thought it was possible, I'd say you don't like women. You like men.
But I'm a man. I'm a man, Manny. I'm a man.
Get away from me, Ted. Don't touch me. Whatever you got, I don't want to catch it.
Manny, no, please. Tell me it ain't true. You don't really believe that.
I don't know what to believe anymore, Ted. Excuse me, I gotta get going.
Oh, no, don't. Manny. Manny. Manny! What is happening to me?
All right, car pulls up to the house. The door opens. Ted, is that you? Where have you been all night?
I ain't been nowhere.
I've been waiting up with dinner. It's gone cold by now.
Cold? Hot? What's the difference anymore?
You're drunk.
Drunk? Regular? What's the difference anymore?
I don't understand, sweetheart. What happened?
You're gonna think I'm crazy.
Please, whatever it is, we can figure it out. Please, honey, what is it? Yes?
I kissed a man.
You're joking. You must be. It doesn't make sense.
Darling, it does. It happened.
But men don't kiss men. Men kiss women. This doesn't make sense.
Listen to me. It happened. I don't understand, but it happened.
I'm calling Dr. Jameson. You're raving.
I was just with the doctor. He doesn't know what's happening to me. I don't know what's happening to me.
Ted, you're scaring me. I have to go. I'm staying with my mother. Please, just get yourself together. Call me when you start making sense. The wife leaves and slams the door. The man drops to his knees and begins to sob.
See a man whose life no longer makes sense, a man alone and confused, a man divided by his understanding of reality and his own experience, a man who is impossible is possible in the Twilight Zone.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so you came in with a sketch, and apparently you don't write sketches down.
Yeah, it was really hard when you asked me to be on the show, and I really wanted to do it. I like talking, full stop. But when I started doing sketch comedy, I almost never, and I still kind of don't write sketches down at all.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand how that's sketch comedy at that point, but like.
It was more of a process. It was more of a that's fair. That's a fair point. It was more of a process of like me and my sketch group, especially at that time, one of us would bring a premise like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this thing? And we'd toss it around for a bit, and we'd add lines.
And then you work it out on its feet, like on your feet, more than just like sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, exactly. We'd just get up and we'd start doing it, and then halfway through, one of us would be like, I don't like that direction. Mm-hmm. Let's stop and let's start it again with this. Or
okay.
I don't like that line. Change this line.
Okay.
And we would just do it over and over and over again until we felt like it was a fully functional sketch.
Okay, so where did this idea come from? Do you remember like the seed of this idea of the Twilight Zone?
We're gonna actually talk about the shitty sketch that everyone
for
just
a little
heard.
bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know. I think I was watching a lot of Twilight Zone, and I realized how just incredibly overdramatic everybody was about everything. And sometimes the plots of a Twilight Zone would be like these incredibly simple things where it's just like. Somebody was experiencing some sort of break in reality or some sort of bout with insanity, and they couldn't just plainly explain that to anybody. So the whole, like most Twilight Zone episodes are somebody dancing around what they're experiencing, and everybody else either reacting wildly or just being confused.
Right.
And I thought what if it was something as mundane as somebody being gay? And I was especially thinking about like if this took place like a long time ago when
Right, if
attitudes were very different.
This very well could have been an episode in the 60s because, with, the attitudes that they were at that point. Like, what do you mean, men kiss women?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking something so simple and so mundane but people can't even fathom that it exists.
Right. So where do you start with comedy? When do you start getting involved? Or how do you start getting involved? What do you start doing first?
So I guess I was in my early 20s, and I had a really boring office job where I would just basically I would get a list of account numbers. I'd type them into a computer and then change. Like there was a field that would, if it said 303, I'd change it to 304 and then go to the next account number.
Okay.
And if it said 304 already, I would just not do anything. And that was my whole day. So I started getting into podcasts. I got into them so much that much like everyone who was getting into podcasts in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I wanted to start one of my own. Mm-hmm. So I started doing I started planning on doing some sort of pop culture chat show that I ended up doing. But while planning it, I met this dude named Alvaro, who was doing his own podcast with a local stand-up, Alex Perlman.
Okay.
It was called Two Mustaches, and it was a sketch comedy podcast. And they were like, I met this guy Alvaro, and he was like, "Hey, you're kind of funny. Do you want to write sketches with me?"
Okay.
And I was like, I guess so. I have no idea how to write sketches. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "It's okay. Just come over to my house one day." And so I went over to his house, and that's how we started this weird process of writing sketches without writing sketches.
Right.
He was just like, "Well, throw me some funny ideas," and we just started tossing around basically that easy early sketch stuff, fake commercials. Mm-hmm. And then we'd toss them around for a second, record them right there, and then move on.
So these were all video pieces more than
No, these were audio.
Okay. Oh, right. With the podcasting and everything.
Yeah. I don't think you can find it. The podcast was called Two Mustaches. I don't think you can find it anywhere on the internet anymore.
I'll do some digging.
Okay. If you find it, please let me know. And then so I can get them all removed from the internet. No, I'm sure Alex and Alvaro did some funny stuff, but all my episodes can be gone.
So you start with Two Mustaches. Mm-hmm. Let's backpedal. What are you watching? What are you into? What is your comedy fandom growing up?
Right. So I came to comedy late. I literally came to comedy through podcasts.
Okay.
I came to comedy in 2000.
So you weren't even you weren't a sitcom kid or
I watched Friends and SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay,
I liked cartoons, and I liked some of the worst sitcoms.
Okay.
And I liked The Simpsons. I guess I liked The Simpsons a lot. I liked Weird Al Yankovic a lot.
That's all fine. You're
right, but it didn't spark that
right.
I don't have that story of watching SNL with my dad every week and
Right.
and saying one day I'm gonna be like Chris Kattan.
I mean, that's fine. You Dancing with the Stars 20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I turned into Chris Kattan all on my own. And I don't have and I don't have and I don't have a story.
But I mean, okay, so you do have a base of Weird Al, mm-hmm. Simpsons, right. Before you get into the podcast. What are the podcasts that you're? So then
I came across the Jesse Thorne, the Maximum Fun network. I came across his show, The Sound of Young America.
Right.
Now it's called Bullseye. And there was just so many. There was a bunch of comic book writers, and he did an interview with They Might Be Giants, and there was a bunch of really cool. The episodes used to just be titled the person he was interviewing, and there's so many cool people, and then even more people that I didn't know at all. Mm-hmm. So it just started from the very beginning and just started listening forward, and that's how I found out that Mr. Show existed, or that Paul F. Tompkins was a person, or every bit of comedy, every bit of like modern comedy that I would learn about would be just listening to obsessively every single episode back to back.
Now, when you find out about Mr. Show, Paul F. Tompkins, are you diving in and like looking into Mr. Show? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Every time I come across anything that I haven't heard or seen, I go and find it and watch it or listen to it or whatever. But like basically at this point, I'm already starting to do comedy.
Right.
So there's very little time for me to obsess about it until I was actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like a full like, oh, I have all this homework done. Let's like go to it. It's like, oh, I'm actually already doing it without knowing. Like,
yeah, and it's like, let's see how other people do it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there were a lot of sketches back then of me just having my eyes open to like Andy Daly, and then I'm sure that I just did an Andy Daly character on a show. You know, like I know very specifically I was into Tom Sharpling's The Best Show on WFMU, and I know his sketches that he used to do with still does, with John Wurster were such a, like, blew me away so much that I would just, half of the sketches I pitched were just a straight man talking to a crazy character for like 30 minutes.
Right.
Because that's what happened on The Best Show on WFMU. And so all my sketches ended up being like having these twists and turns that lasted for like the better part of an hour.
But I think that whole straight man crazy character, I think everyone goes through that. Like, you know, like everyone does those sketches. Yeah. I have this one, my first sketch is basically straight man crazy character to an extent. Like,
you almost just broke the time stream.
I know. I realized that as I was saying it out loud.
Let's not explain it.
So where does Hey We're Cool come in?
Oh, okay.
Or is like,
yeah, that's a
build the gap to it.
Sure. That's a huge jump. So, okay. So Two Mustaches eventually did a live show. It was my first time ever performing comedy at all. They did a live show in Westchester with like, who was on it? Chip Chantry and Secret Pants and Megan Robb.
Okay. Pretty solid lineup.
Yeah, it was pretty. I think
for your first show in front of people.
Yeah. And so I ended up in. They did like 4 sketches. I ended up in 3 of them, and that was crazy. I remember it was a weird day for me. Like, can I tell you this like very weird? It's completely tangential.
You can
story.
say whatever you want. Like,
I grew up with a sister and a stepsister, and that was it until this one day when the first day I was ever to perform comedy. I was driving to the venue. It was called The Note. It was Bam Margera's old bar.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So
I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, until like an old woman beat the next door neighbor, like an old woman beat him with a baseball bat because of noise complaints, and then he quit owning the bar, and then the bar folded like 2 years later. I was on my way, and my dad calls me, and he leaves like this urgent sounding voicemail. So I call him back, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, guess what? I haven't told you anything about this, but you know what's really cool? I'm on my way to perform comedy for the first time in my life." And he was always a huge comedy fan. I think he always wanted to be a comedian. So it was like, so I thought he'd be super excited and happy for me. And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, how about you just call me back tomorrow?"
Oh God.
I was like, "Oh shit. Hey, wait, hold on. What's up? What's going on?" And he was like, "You know what? I don't want to worry you with this. Let's just talk tomorrow." And I was like, "Well, now this is all I'm going to be able to think about." I'm thinking he was like getting divorced or like he had cancer or like these crazy things are going through my mind. Because
those were the first 2 things I thought too in this story.
Exactly. And so what he says is he's like, "Okay, I just got in touch with an old friend of mine, actually an old girlfriend of mine from high school, and apparently I have a 30-year-old daughter that I never knew about.
Oh my gosh.
And she just had a kid, so you not only have a long-lost half-sister, you also are an uncle."
Whoa.
And I was like 3 hours before the first time I would ever perform comedy in front of human beings.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so all right. So you're doing a show at the Note.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we can.
Bam
move forward in time.
Margera may or may not be there.
I am pretty sure he wasn't. Even if he was there, like I lived in Westchester. You run into that guy from here every now and then. It's not a fun experience to end up in the same bar with that dude. So then the same group of people, me and Alvaro and Alex and a friend of ours that was on my podcast and was also like helping out with Two Mustaches occasionally, Kyle, we all decided to start our own live sketch show.
Okay.
And so above a coffee shop in downtown Westchester, we did a show called The Win Show.
Okay.
That was like a brand new, like full, the show ended up being like usually 2, 3, it was like a slog. It was like a 2.5, sometimes 3 hour long sketch show.
Wow.
That was all completely... we eventually hammered that out into we eventually learned how to put on a show, but for those first like maybe 5, it was insane. And we put it on for our friends and people, like random townies.
Yeah.
Just like all original sketch comedy every month. Mm-hmm. We would write a brand.
I mean, because you think Westchester, there's at least a college there. Like,
yeah,
there's a possible audience. So like.
Yeah, I think even our last show
theoretically there's a possible audience.
Exactly. Even the last show we did, we were like, well, there's a possible audience here. And Alex was getting into stand-up. Well, I guess he'd been doing stand-up for a while, but he was doing it more in the city, and so he would bring stand-ups in from the city to, to perform on our show in between sketches. And I don't know, it was fun. We did that for 2.5 years. Eventually, Alex Perlman left, and a guy named Pat Reber, who I had known in high school and had just randomly happened upon.
Oh, that's crazy.
Our show. He showed up, and then he was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, I also kind of do comedy." And we're like, all right, dude, cool. Because we'd heard that constantly. We constantly heard, being in this small town, having no connection to a comedy scene or whatever, we constantly had people coming up to us being like, hey, my friends all say I'm funny. I should be on your show. And literally that bold. I remember a guy at Radio Shack once. We were buying lights, or you wouldn't buy lights at Radio Shack. We were buying some equipment for the show at Radio Shack. And the guy was like, what is this for? We're like, oh, we do a comedy show in town. He's like, hey, I'm funny. Put me on your show. Just that bold. And it's like, I don't know, man. Do you have stuff online we can see? And he's like, no. I just I always thought it was funny.
See, there's a part of me that really wishes that was a thing where oh, I have a show. Yeah, put me on the show. Okay. And then just see what happens. I am so curious about that now. Screw my first sketch. Let's figure that out.
I was also curious about that, and I advocated doing it a lot until one time I was going to do that with a kid who was doing the exact same thing, and there was also an open mic at upstairs at that coffee shop that we would all go to a lot, and we saw this kid show up to this open mic, and he was going to go do his first thing. He was going to do stand-up for the first time, and the first words out of his mouth were, hey, I'm whatever his name was. I have no idea now. Hey, I'm whatever. I'm not gay. I'm not a. And he used the F, the slur for gay that starts with F, and then just pauses for laughter. And I was like, yeah, let's not just let crazy people. He also pitched a sketch where him and his friends would all put on boxes like they're in cars, and then the cars would cut each other off, and then he would yell at them about how bad they were at driving, and then another bad driving situation would happen, and he'd insult them and yell at them how bad that was. Anyway,
sounds great.
So. Okay, so this guy Pat Reber, Alex Perlman leaves. This guy Pat Reber joins. The show gets weirder and weirder. We end up doing like all this like we start diverting away from sketch and start doing this like more like experimental stuff. We did like one time we had a sketch that we had done a ton of times, and we decided to just pluck a character out of that sketch that was a completely inconsequential character. We wrote an entire movie and filmed an entire movie about this character in the sketch, and then we played it at a show, then did this dumb sketch where this character comes in, delivers one line, and leaves. Mm-hmm. And they'd just seen an entire movie about this character, and then they see this dumb sketch that relates to it 0%, and then the last thing, the guy comes in, shoots one of the characters, and walks out. Like one time we did a show, since the show was called The Win Show, we were very clever. We did a show called The Fail Show, where we started the show with a sketch that wasn't going very well, and then one of us would break character and start yelling at the other people about how bad this sketch was going. Mm-hmm. And then the other members of the troupe would yell back, and then kick, and I was the person who interrupted the sketch, and they'd kick me off stage, and then they'd try it again with one of the other members, mm-hmm. and I'd walk around the audience asking the people in the audience if they thought the sketch going on stage was any good, and like just like we intentionally sabotaging our own show.
Where the audience catch that, like that was the purpose of it, like.
So yeah, that show, so we spent that entire show fake arguing on stage, letting sketches break down in the middle, and then just not resuming them. Mm-hmm. At one point we pretended that the video player was broken and just kept playing the same sketch over and over again. Mm-hmm. And then then we're like, we can't shut it off. Sorry, we don't know how to shut it off. So we just let it play over top of us doing other sketches. Mm-hmm. With the audio from the sketch coming out of the speakers, and then at some point, for no reason whatsoever, it changes from this sketch that's playing over and over to the last 5 minutes of There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
It just plays that over and over. It was the most insane thing, and afterwards, people just came up to us and they were like, "Hey, that was a rough one, right? What happened? What you guys couldn't get on the same page about what sketches you wanted to do?" It's like, you thought that was real? You thought that's how humans would behave in this setting? We could have unplugged the projector.
There's like 4 different ways of fixing the projector problem, and just moving on with life.
Yeah, exactly. But people thought that the thing was entirely real, which I'm guessing is this just them communicating to us like, this wasn't a fun theater going experience.
This wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like,
so after a while, we all become busy with stuff. Alvaro Alvaro's a rapper. He raps under the name MC Black Wolf. Kyle was managing a restaurant. And so the Win Show just kind of goes away. Mm-hmm. But me and Pat are still hanging around. At this point, we've started visiting the city, mm-hmm. and going to Sketch Up or Shut Up, and started like making friends with cool people in Philly comedy. And we're still really interested in less the sketch and more these weird experimental ideas that we've had. So one time at a party, I think it was Jackie Baker's party. We're hanging out with Jackie Baker and Matt Schmidt and Chris McGrail and Peter Rambo. And we're all like, hey, let's do a weird show together that has like maybe like some sketch elements, like has like characters burst in here or there.
Yeah, because I think I talked to Pete Rambo about this, mm-hmm. and if I'm remembering correctly, because Pete's generally a quiet guy, either you felt that he didn't like you, or like, okay, so there was that kind of like,
yeah, I mean, I think
slight tension of just like mistaking Pete's quietness for contempt for you or something, like.
Yeah. Yes, that happened. That is true.
Like, because I asked him how he got started. He was like, yeah, Matt Aukamp thought I didn't like him, and I was just, just not talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, he once would later reveal to me, because of that way that we in the Wind Show used to write sketches where we didn't write anything down. We never had scripts, so we would get up on stage and we'd be working out a sketch to see what worked and what didn't. But it looked like we had just memorized. We had all memorized our scripts.
Right.
And he once would later tell me that he did think we were assholes. Because Sketch Up or Shut Up was supposed to be like a venue where you walked on stage with a script in hand and like you were just testing out material, and I guess he thought we were coming on with fully fleshed out material to show off. But I think by the time when I still thought Pete Rambo hated me for a long time, when I guess he was just a quiet man. But I think everyone hates me. I think everybody in the room currently maybe hates me like a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but Pete was like the dude for this. Like, we all had this conversation, and me and Pat had been planning it out for a while. But Pete was, I think, the guy who like sent the emails and set the date. And
he's very organized and very like, and with this chaotic process that you guys go through, like of working through everything, it's good to have someone who can hone, keep things together, like.
Yeah, definitely. The Hey We're Cool would not have happened without Pete Rambo. Because the thing that we did with Hey We're Cool was we took out even the structure of sketch comedy, and we just did all the chaotic stuff, all the chaos, and so we would be sitting around Jackie Baker's living room drinking. For some reason, I remember this from that first Hey We're Cool meeting, drinking straight Kahlua. I think Chris McGrail found a bottle of straight Kahlua, and he was like, "Can I have some?" And we were all like, "Yeah, let's all have some." And we were all just drinking glasses of straight Kahlua and talking about like these crazy ideas of like, let's have the audience propel us into a war on Twitter with somebody that we don't even know who it is. Like, they vote on who on Twitter we should get into an argument with, and we'll just start a whole Twitter war. Or let's have a pumpkin carving contest, but the pumpkins are 3 months old, so so we bring people on stage and then reveal 3 rotten pumpkins and make them carve. Like, we're throwing the craziest ideas, and then Pete, and I think I walked away from that first meeting going, this isn't gonna happen. This isn't a show. This is just a bunch of lunacy. And then Pete sends like an email that very succinctly details each bit we discussed and how it could work in the show. And it's like, oh fuck, we got a show. And I can't tell you how many times that happened. That I feel like we were all just yelling nonsense at each other, and then Pete is like, okay, well, we have 4 bits and 1 character, and
do you have a favorite moment from Hey We're Cool? Like, is there a particular?
Yeah, I think. Shit. I have a bunch, but I think my favorite moment was there was a show we did called I don't fucking actually remember. I think we called it the Satan Show, where we were trying to break all 10 commandments and then summon Satan at the end of the show. And we did things like for Thou Shalt Not Covet Thy Neighbor's Wife, we had a burlesque dancer come on and show her wedding ring to the audience and then dance burlesque. Then we had for Thou Shalt Not Kill, we couldn't figure out how to do it convincingly, so we brought a plant out, and we named the plant, and then we just immediately started trying to kill the plant. And just something about us giving it a name made everybody very upset about it. And but yeah, I don't know, there was this end of that show where we had just so before the show we had cut open some stuffed animals, filled their stomachs with sandwich bags full of fake blood. Oh my gosh. And so we had just and at this point we'd been told that the bartender is not happy with us. There are things that we've done in this show that she's not happy with. And we're on stage, and I think in my memory we're shirtless, but I don't know that that's true. And we just ripped open with razor blades these like stuffed animals, and blood starts spilling out of them from them on the ground. And we're like chanting a satanic prayer we had literally just looked up with the audience's help on our phones. And it's just like, and in my head, it's just like, is this this is comedy? like, is this something I'm just allowed to do?
And you're still allowed back in Latage. Like.
Yeah. She was mad because the first attempt to kill the plant was we poured actual bleach onto it. So we brought actual bleach into a bar and removed it from its container.
I had never gone to the Hey We're Cool show at Latage because you were always up against Iron Sketch.
That's true.
And I loved Iron Sketch, so you guys always lost out. I'm sorry. So most of my experience with Hey We're Cool is during Black Friday Comedy Marathon.
Okay.
And there's a particular thing in Black Friday Comedy Marathon that has come up multiple times, and I want everyone's point of view about it. Lil Lord Fauntleroy.
I got nervous and I didn't even know that was coming. I got nervous when you said that.
Because I've talked to P. So you were very much against it,
okay.
At least
I was very much for the bit. Okay, so for the Black Friday Comedy Marathon, we had to write 40 bits.
Yeah.
And that we'd perform during this 36 and then 38 and then 40-hour long extravaganza, and even our writing sessions would get long and exhaustive. And I remember towards the end of a writing session, we were standing out front of Pat Reber's house, and we were. I think Chris McGrail was the dude that was the one who suggested it, and he was like. He pitched this sketch, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Where I don't even fucking remember how it began. How much do you remember about how it began?
I don't remember full, but I remember it actually happening with Brian Kelly dressed up as Fauntleroy, and then what I found out is that the original pitch was you.
The original pitch
or at one point it was supposed to be you.
That's true.
And you had no desire to be dressed up as Lord Fauntleroy.
So it was one of those feverish comedy writing ideas where you're all together and you're all laughing and you're sleep deprived and your blood sugar's low, and you're and he's pitching this idea where we have a person dressed as Lil Lord Fauntleroy that gets called up from the audience. We ask him if he ate all the chocolates. He says he didn't eat all of the chocolates, and then we ask him again, and he says yes, and then he goes over one of our knees and we spank him. And that was the whole thing, and we were laughing like idiots on the street at and I guess because the Black Friday Comedy Marathon always takes place on Black Friday, so this is probably 2 days before Thanksgiving, and we're just out on the street laughing about this insane idea. And then, it's one of those that we put on our board of bits, and I kind of thought it just wasn't going to happen. I thought no one was going to have a Lil Lord Fauntleroy outfit, and I thought when in the cold light of day, we'll look at this and go, "This is insane. We can't do this."
Wait, that's insane, and Lil Lord Fauntleroy is insane, but killing a plant with bleach, that was where you drew the line of insane.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. So the time comes, and in our heads we all have this is going to be Mike Watkins, and I think I even was like, this is a mean thing to do to a person. This is an actually humiliating bit to put somebody through. You're gonna physically spank them in a Lil Lord Fauntleroy outfit, and we don't even know if this bit's gonna be funny or just something that we thought up kind of feverishly. And then Mike Watkins had some issue happen and he couldn't come to the Black Friday Comedy Marathon, and so then I was like, okay, well then it's Chris McGrail. Because it was Chris's idea.
Right.
So if Chris wants it to happen, it should be Chris McGrail. And Chris was like, it should be Matt because Matt looks young.
Which, to be fair, yes, you do.
That's
like,
true. That's true. And I was like, I don't want to do that. like I don't want to. I mean, I'm 25 probably hours into hosting this thing. I have like 12 to go.
Because it was definitely like either really late in the morning. Like it was definitely overnight time.
Yes,
like
true.
But then the next year, apparently there's a bit where you guys are like deconstructing and like discussing
this exact issue.
Yeah. Which I wasn't there for. And I'm really bummed I missed at this point. Like,
and so they set up like a little mock trial and put me and I was asleep. Actually, we were both asleep, but Chris was wasted and asleep, and I was just asleep. And they wake us both up, and they're like, "We're doing this. We're doing Lil Lord Fauntleroy." And I was like, "No, I don't fucking want to do this," because what they had come up with was that they'd hold a fake court, and we would both say our sides of about why we thought we were right on the day of the last Black Friday Comedy Marathon, and then the audience would vote, and whoever lost would have to dress up like Lil Lord Fauntleroy and get on the lap of whoever won and be spanked. And I was like, first of all, I'm asleep. Second of all, I don't want to dress up like Lil Lord Fauntleroy and be spanked. Third of all, I don't really want to spank Chris. And we sit on stage, and I'm just kind of like depressedly going over like, this is why I didn't want to do it. I thought I think I went really dark with it. I was like, I already struggle with depression and self-worth issues. Like clearly that's just me like milking the situation, being totally exploitive. But yeah, and then Chris gives his side of the story, and he's drunk, so he's basically like, look at him, doesn't he look like Lil Lord Fauntleroy? Wouldn't it be funny to spank his bottom? And then it goes to the audience, and they're like, who thinks Chris is right? And one guy is like, yeah! That sort of thing where one person cheers and realizes they're the only one cheering, and it's totally awkward. And then they're like, who thinks Matt is right? And the audience just like erupts. And I thought I was going to dress up. I thought I was going to lose this because I thought like they're like Matt's ego like kept him from doing this. And that's like the only thing. He was being ridiculous. But no, the audience totally sides with me almost unanimously except for that one asshole. But then it sucked. Then Chris got on my lap dressed as Lil Lord Fauntleroy, and then he pulled his pants down so I had to spank his bare ass. It was awful. Comedy is bad, and no one should do it.
So, Hey We're Cool doesn't do the monthly shows at Latage.
Correct.
And did you guys end with, what was that show called? Selfie? Was that,
no.
That was
It was
one of the
just-
last, but like.
It was just the 2 years that we did the Black Friday Comedy Marathon. We didn't want to then have to write an entire show. So
It was bring your own material, or else we're watching Selfie or
else,
something.
the audience was expected to bring their own material, and for every minute that the audience didn't fill up with their own shit, we would just watch the TV show Selfie and talk about it. Yeah, we did that twice. What? Comedy is bad. Why do you do this podcast? Why are you trying to trick people into thinking comedy is good? It's bad.
Why am I being yelled at on my own?
I'm sorry.
By multiple people tonight.
You honestly know I'm yelling at myself in that moment.
All right, but now your big thing, or at least the big thing I know about, is Dungeon Palz.
Yeah.
Where does this come from?
So also from Hey We're Cool. At some point during Hey We're Cool, I say, it'd be fun. We should have the audience play Dungeons and Dragons on stage. We should have some comedians play Dungeons and Dragons on stage in front of the audience, and everyone's like, no, that's a stupid idea. No one wants to see that. And I was like, no, I think it'll be funny. And so they were like, okay, you can have it, but you can have it like, we're not going to do like a big chunk of an adventure. We'll do like 10 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 10 minutes, like split up throughout the show. And it went kind of bad. Like it was funny when it was on, but like the third chunk of the adventure, nobody was paying attention. Like people were just chatting at the bar. Right. It went kind of bad. And I was like, no, I think it'll be good if we do it if we did it all together and like people got invested in the story and their characters, and but they never let me try it on Hey We're Cool again. So I brought it to Good Comedy. Well, when it was $5 Comedy Week, and I pitched a workshop called How to Be Bad at Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Where where my friend and dungeon master Josh Yarnell, who was also the dungeon master on that installment of Hey We're Cool, he would lead the audience through a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and I would walk around trying to sabotage it. Okay. I would just walk around giving everybody the worst advice I could, telling them how to be shitty players. The first thing I did to make the game fail was I brought like 20 people up on stage to play all at the same time. A game of Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really work with 20 people. And then a couple, like maybe a year later, when $5 Comedy Week is now Good Comedy, or the $5 Comedy Week team starts Good Comedy, and they start doing shows regularly. They're like, hey, remember that Dungeons and Dragons thing that you did for us? Do you want to do a show like that? But like not like the workshop, like just an actual playing Dungeons and Dragons on stage with comedians. I was like, oh, I did that. I already did that. I know how to do that. And then, by that point, I had started learning to like dungeon master my own D&D games, and so I just took over as dungeon master, and now for I guess like 14 months.
And you're doing it at the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, so
so
I've been doing the show Dungeon Palz, but then we got actually from the workshop How to Be Bad at Dungeons and Dragons, the one of the owners of the Pennsylvania, or not the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, the Philadelphia Renaissance Fair reached out to me, and she was like, hey, I was at that weird thing you did at $5 Comedy Week where you brought us all on stage. Would you want to do something like that again? But at the Renaissance Fair? And I was like, fuck yes, oh my God, yes. Like I'm getting paid for that? And like I would have paid to do that. To go to the Renaissance Fair and play Dungeons and Dragons with strangers? Holy shit. Don't air that part. No, I'm just kidding.
It will be close enough to the thing that they, you've already signed whatever. And
yeah, that's true. I've signed a contract.
I didn't ask earlier, which is really weird, and I'm glad I remembered. Favorite Saturday Night Live cast member?
Because I was bad at comedy when I was younger, I didn't really watch Saturday Night Live. I have a distinct memory of Chris Elliott talking about a penis cream?
With Steve Martin, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
all I remember.
That's a real thing. So you're going to, okay, Chris Elliott.
Yeah, but I love Chris Elliott. I love everything else Chris Elliott's done. And I like, I dip into Saturday Night Live occasionally here and there. I mean, could I say, instead of any cast member, could I just say David S. Pumpkins, the character? Like, could he just be my...
No, we're going to go Chris Elliott. Like, you can like David S. Pumpkins. Chris Elliott's a weird one because he was already, he was one of those guys that was already famous and was already, that was another season where they brought in people that already had names with him and Michael McKean.
Right.
It's a weird season for sure.
I haven't watched much of it.
I haven't either, but just knowing who's on that cast, what are you trying to do here? It's bizarre. All right, so why comedy? Why do you keep doing stuff, even though you've said multiple times that comedy is bad?
It's bad and everyone should quit. I don't know. Well, because this is the thing. It's very dumb. Comedy is very like dumb and has no form and no rules. I know those aren't. I know you can apply rules and forms to comedy, and people do it very successfully. But the main rule of comedy is just be funny, make people laugh, and so you can apply that to so much bullshit. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Anytime that I'm thinking I should get serious about comedy and I should really work on doing sketch or doing improv more, or I should write a stand-up set, my mind always dives off on in a weird direction, and it's no, I should do a show at somebody's house where we celebrate New Year's Eve 70 times in a row, and I eat a raw potato as a hangover cure, and then it's people let me do that, and let me and my friends just hang out and do those sorts of things. That's the other reason why comedy is just the people in it are so cool. I think 90% of the reason why I still do comedy is because I feel like I feel like I'd lose all my friends if I stopped.
Right.
Everybody in it is so cool and so fun. It's so fun to just hang out with people and do dumb shit and laugh.
And then finally, any advice for someone new in the scene?
I mean, just it's dumb, but just do whatever. Just do whatever pops into your head. Just constantly. And some of it's going to be really bad, like a parody of the Twilight Zone about being gay. And some of it is... And some of it's going to be completely insane, and you're going to be embarrassed about it, either because you put yourself in a strange position that you wouldn't have otherwise if not to be laughed at. And some of it, like the Lil Lord Fauntleroy thing, and some of it will just be just straight up bad. Like, no one will laugh, and it won't be fun. But like, you can just do whatever. You can find your own stages. You can book your own time, and any weird idea you have, you should just put on stage. That's it. That's my only advice, is just do whatever. Do whatever.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Thank you.
Matt will be performing How to Be Bad at D&D at the Philly Ren Faire. The Philly Ren Faire takes place at Fort Mifflin, May 13th, 14th, 20th, and 21st, over 2 weekends. For more information and tickets, head to phillyrenfaire.com, and that's fair with an E at the end, to stay on brand. And then Dungeon Palz returns to Good Comedy on May 31st at 8:30. Head to goodcomedy.com for tickets. Don't forget that the new Fit sketch team debuts this week. They are no longer codenamed Bacchus, but now they are Fezziwig. They debut Thursdays and Fridays, the 11th, the 12th, 18th, and 19th at Philly Improv Theater. And all of those shows start at 8:30. Tickets, of course, are available at fitcomedy.com. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. And of course, like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Join me next week when I chat with Andrea Duffy of Fezziwig. But in the meantime, go see some comedy.